Respected teachers, I am David Nath, a student of MSc 4th semester of Central University Jharkhand of Physics Department. I have prepared a report on how to calculate star distances with the help of Dr. Vinay Kumar Agotia sir. I have included introduction, different techniques used, various units of measurement, description of all the techniques, problem arising in the practice, and conclusion in this presentation. At first, we have to know what is stellar distance. The distance between two celestial bodies is known as stellar distance. Now, in every stage of astronomy, we need stellar distances. The vast universe cannot be studied without the help of stellar distances. To know about the velocity, mass, size, luminosity of etc. of any celestial body, we have to know about the stellar distances. Now, I have studied here 8 different techniques to calculate the stellar distances. Those are radar ranking, trigonometric parallax method, absolute magnitude and distance modulus, spectroscopic parallax, main sequence fitting, variable star, where I have used Cepheid variable star, supernova, and at last the redshift and Hubble's law. Now, the conventional techniques cannot be used as the universe is very large in the process of calculation of stellar distances. So, scientists have used some unique units to calculate the stellar distances. The average distance between Sun and Earth is called as astronomical unit, where one astronomical unit is equal to 149.59 into 10 to the power 6 kilometer. The distance traveled by a light in 1 year is called as light year, and 1 light year is equal to 9.46 into 10 to the power 2 kilometer. And the distance at which an astronomical object sustain an parallax angle of 1 arc second is called as parsecond. And 1 parsecond is equal to 3.08 into 10 to the power 13 kilometer, which is equal to 3.26 light year. Now, the first technique I have used here is radar ranking. The word radar stands for radio detection and landing. Radar technique uses short radio pulses with high power. It is triggered in the sky. When it finds an obstacle, it is scattered in all directions, and one part of them is reflected back to the radar, and this reflected wave is analyzed to calculate the stellar distances. The distance is equal to the multiplication of half of the time taken to reflect back to radar and the velocity of light. Mathematically, dl is equal to t by 2 cross c, where dl is equal to distance between two stellar bodies, t is equal to time taken by the signal to reflect back to Earth, and c is equal to speed of light in vacuum. Now, the second technique I have used here is trigonometric parallax method. Parallax is a total concept of geometry. It is apparent shift of an object position relative to more distance background with respect to the change in the observer's position. We can observe it in uh, stars also, but it is very small and it cannot be seen by naked eye. We can see it with telescope. Now we can show it with this diagram, and after that we can modify such diagram like this, and it will form a right angle triangle as shown here. And from the diagram we can see 10p is equal to 1 AU by D, where the angle is so small, so we can use 10p is equal to p also. So p radian is equal to 1 AU by D, but 1 radian is equal to 2.06 into 10 to the power 5 arc second. Therefore, p arc second is equal to 2.06 into 10 to the power 5 1 AU by D. Is equal, so which leads to D is equal to 2.06 into 10 to the power 5 149.59 into 10 to the power 6 kilometer by p arc second. So by calculating the parallax angle in arc second, we can calculate the distance to a nearby star from the Earth. But here some condition is arise, and those conditions are: condition 1, when the star is directly upward from the ecliptic plane, that means the plane of orbit of the Earth. At such situation, the position of the Earth, position of the star over 1 year will trace a circle as shown here, and the parallax angle formed in this case will be the radius of this circle. Now, the condition 2, when the star is at an angle from the plane of from the ecliptic plane. At such situation, the data of positions of the star over 1 year will trace an ellipse as shown here. And the parallax angle formed in this case will be the semi-major axis of this ellipse. Now the condition 3. When the star is aligned to the ecliptic plane. At such situation, the data of positions of the star over the year will form a straight line as shown here, and the parallax angle formed in this case will be the half of the length of that straight line. Now the third technique I have studied is absolute magnitude and distance modulus. Space scientists have said that the magnitude of star which is located at standard distance of 10 per second is called as absolute magnitude. If a star is located nearer than 10 per second, then it will be brighter, and if it is located farther than 10 per second, it will be fainter. And this is shown here with the diagram as position 1, 2 and 3. Now we can connect two magnitudes of star as m2 minus m1 is equal to 5 log 10 r2 by r1. Now if you denote r2 is equal to r, r1 is equal to 10 pc, absolute magnitude is equal to capital M, and the apparent magnitude as small m, then m minus m capital M is equal to 5 log 10 r by 10 pc, which leads to r is equal to 10 pc cross 10 to the power m minus capital M by 5, where r is the distance to star. So from this equation we can calculate the distance to the star if we know the apparent magnitude and absolute magnitude of the star. Now the fourth technique I have used here is spectroscopic parallax method. Now to use this technique we have to know about the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, which is also known as HR diagram. It was created by Andreas Hertzsprung and Henry Norris Russell. They showed that luminosity of all stars have a definite relation with their temperature. This can be studied by the diagram clearly. The x-axis here denotes the temperature of stars, which increases continuously from the right to left, and the y-axis here denotes the luminosity of stars, which increases gradually from bottom to the top. Now if we start to put the stars of universe according to their luminosity and temperature in such graph, the most stars will occupy the area from the top of the left of this graph to the right of the bottom. This group of stars is called as the main sequence. As the evolution of stars continues, the stars leave the main sequence and occupy the other part of the diagram. They are named as red giant, supergiant, white dwarf, etc. Now, to calculate the distance with the help of this, first we have to take spectrum of an observed star. Then using photometry and filter, we have to find the color index of the star. From the color index, we can assume the color of the star. If we assume the color of the star, then from the diagram, HR diagram, we can assume the luminosity of the star. And at the same time, we can calculate the flux of the star. Then finally, we can use this relation to calculate the distance to the star, which is f is equal to L by 4 pi r square, which leads to r is equal to root over L by 4 pi f, where r is equal to the distance to a star, f is equal to flux, L is equal to luminosity. Now, fifth technique I have used here is main sequence fitting. In this method, we consider a cluster of stars to be located at a single distance from Earth, as they are formed from the same cloud of gas at the same time and follow the relation f is equal to L by 4 pi r square, which leads to L is equal to f cross 4 pi r square. Now by calculating f of a cluster of star and assuming r from any previous method, we can calculate the L from the formula, and after that we can put that star in the HR diagram. It may fit in the main sequence or it may doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, then we can proceed with the same techniques again with by assuming a different R. At this, the cluster of stars will fit in the main sequence, and that time the value of R used is will be the distance to the cluster. Now the sixth technique I have used here is variable star, where I have used Cepheid variable. Now some stars luminosity changes with time. Those are called as variable star, and Cepheid variable one of those whose luminosity changes periodically with time. At earlier stage, girls could not use telescope, so a scientist, Henrietta Leavitt, was observing photographic plate of magnetic cloud, and she discovered at the time that the stars with longer periods have higher luminosity and shorter periods have the low luminosity, and she showed this by this graph. After that, Ender Hirschsprung plotted this graph, second graph, as shown in the as shown here, and by he showed that by calculating the period of Cepheid variable, we can calculate the luminosity of them relating to sun, and we can calculate the flux of the stars also. So by calculating the flux and calculating the luminosity, we can calculate the distance to those stars by this relation F is equal to L by 4 pi r square. This is equal to R is equal to root over L by 4 pi f. Now the next technique I have used here is supernova, and supernova is a stellar explosion of massive supergiant star. Generally, this type of situation arises at the last evolutionary stage of a star. At the last evolutionary star, the fusion process builds up a core of metals like Fe, Ni, Co, Cu, etc. And they are very tightly bound. And at that time, the core cannot exert the pressure which were created inside, and they cannot get the gravitation pressure or the fusion energy which were created outside the core. So at some unbalanced, extremely unbalanced condition, the core of the stars explode, and that explosion is very high luminosity, and by calculating the peak luminosity of such explosion, we can calculate the distance to stars by the relation d is equal to root over L peak by 4 pi f, where L peak is equal to the luminosity of the stars at the core of the time of explosion. Now the last techniques I have used here is redshift and Hubble's law. Astronomers have observed that the spectral lines of all the spectrums from the celestial bodies are changing to longer wavelengths. This is called as redshift, and it is given by Z is equal to lambda observation by lambda emitted, lambda rest, or lambda emitted by lambda rest. Now for small velocities, Z is equal to V by C, which leads to V is equal to C cos Z. Again, Hubble's law says that the universe is expanding, which is proportional to the distance to the stars, and it can be equated by the Hubble's constant, where V is equal to H naught cos D. H naught is equal to Hubble's constant, but D is equal to V by H naught. So by using the previous equation, we can say D is equal to Cz by H naught. So by calculating the redshift, we can calculate the distance to those stars. Now we face various problems in calculating the stellar distances. Some of them are all the celestial bodies are moving in their orbit or in the universe also. The universe is expanding continuously. The Hubble's constant changes time to time. All the stars twinkle as they are at very high distance. The hemispheric irregularity of Earth also create problem. Now from this report we can make some conclusions. The first three techniques I have used here can be termed as primary techniques. They can be used within the galaxy and some nearby stars. The next two techniques can be said as the secondary techniques, and they can be used for some nearby galaxies. And the last three techniques can be said as the tertiary techniques, and they can be used for the distant galaxies. Now from the stellar distances, we can calculate the position, size, structure, core composition, luminosity, etc. from of any celestial body. Again, supernova and Hubble's law lead us to the beginning of the universe, and they can give about the evolution of the celestial body. And now this is my report. Thank you.
Thank you.